Hey, what's up guys? It's Jordan from Teasers Books, and today I'm going to be talking about the books that I read in February. So I actually managed to get a lot of reading done in the month of February, and I'm super impressed with myself. I managed to read 7 books, which is a lot more than I normally can, especially when I'm in school. And the reason behind most of that is because I actually got 2 weeks off from my reading week instead of 1 like I normally do, and I got to read so much. I went on a vacation to Florida and it was amazing, and I got to spend so much time reading on the beach. I read some really good books, so let's get into them. But first off is I actually binge read a series in February, and it was amazing, and you've probably heard of it before, but it's this little series called the Wayward Children series by Shauna McGuire, and oh my god, it was so good. So I actually managed to read the first 4 books in the series. I listened to all of them on audiobook and they were fantastic. Shauna McGuire actually narrates the second book herself, and she did a really good job, and I loved listening to the book in the exact way that she imagined it being told. It was just mind-blowing. If you don't know, the first 4 books are Every Heart a Doorway, Down Among the Sticks and Bones, Beneath the Sugar Sky, and In an Absent Dream. So I got through all of those, and it was amazing because the audiobooks are only about 4 hours, so I could get one done a day just by sitting down at the beach listening to my book. It was amazing. If you don't know the premise behind these novels, it is basically about what happens to kids after they come home from Narnia, for example. So they go through these doors and they go to this world that is kind of more perfect for them than the human world, and then they come back and they don't really know how to live in the society anymore because it's so different than the world that they were living in when they went through their doorway. And this one woman decided to open up a school to kind of take in these children that came back from their doors and don't really know how to reinsert themselves into society. And I just think that Shauna McGuire did a beautiful job at crafting each character and each character's story. I was just amazed by how much depth we got with these characters and with all of the different worlds in such a short amount of time, because all of the books are under like 250 pages, so they're all kind of considered novellas and not full-length novels. I just felt like I got so much more out of just these 200 pages than I do sometimes with a 700-page fantasy book, because the way she told her story, she never used words that didn't need to be used. Every sentence was very important, and she talked about a lot of really interesting topics. Like, for example, she acknowledges the fact that sometimes teachers or professors can actually be really sexist or gender biased towards men or women, depending on what field of study they're interested in. She was trying to bring a lot of really modern problems and discuss them in her novels without seeming overbearing about talking about those subjects, but just making them sort of a sideline discussion, which worked really well. Honestly, if you have any interest in reading these books, I highly suggest that you do. They are just so incredible, and I just really enjoyed my time with them, and they were just so easy and fun, and I just felt like I could really connect with each character. Really hope that you guys consider picking them up. My ratings for the books, I should probably do that. The first book I gave 4 out of 5 stars, the second book 5, third book 4.5, and the fourth book 5. The first book definitely is the least entertaining personally for me out of the rest of them, but that's just because I know how good the other books are, that I think that the first one is just not as intense as the others. Anyways, now that you guys have all been convinced to read the Wayward Children series, and I also expect you to let me know if you do, because I need to talk about it with somebody, but now I'm gonna get into what else I read in the month of February. Next book that I wanna talk about is The Other People by CJ Tudor. This book I actually read because Kayla from Books and Lala started the Literally Dead book club, and this was the month's pick. This is the first month of the book club, and I'll leave all of the social media down below if you haven't heard of it, but this book club focuses mostly on adult thrillers, and as a person who has never read an adult thriller in her life, I definitely thought this would be a great opportunity to kind of introduce myself to this genre, and I was really happy with the results. The Other People is about this man who is driving home from work one day on the highway and gets cut off by this car, and all of a sudden his daughter appears in the back seat and is screaming for help. He doesn't know what to believe. He gets off of the highway and calls home, and he's told by the police that both his wife and his daughter are dead. The thing is though, is he doesn't believe that his daughter is dead. He believes that his daughter has been kidnapped. He spends the rest of his days traveling up and down the highway, hoping that he can spot that car again to try to find his daughter. Overall, I thought this book was pretty good. I ended up giving it 3 out of 5 stars. Was it the best book I ever read? No. But did it keep my attention? Yes. Overall, I found the book to be pretty predictable. I wasn't overly shocked by any of the reveals that happened in the novel, and I also had trouble feeling for any of the characters. I don't know if that was the writing style or just something else, but I found like I wasn't concerned about the characters whatsoever. I didn't really care if they lived or died or anything like that. Maybe I'm just heartless, I don't know. I just found it was difficult for me to really get into it and care about the characters. I do think that at some points it dragged. I thought the pacing was a little strange. At one point, I'd be reading chapter after chapter, just wanting to know what happens, and then all of a sudden we go through this period where nothing really happened, and I was considering not continuing with the book. I also just felt like some stuff was left unexplained. There was a lot of loose ends at the end of the novel that weren't really tied up, and I still don't really understand a whole aspect of the story that I also don't think needed to be in the story in the first place. Overall, it kept my attention for the most part. I was excited to find out the end, and overall, I'm happy I read it, but I don't think I would reread it. The next book that I read this month was Goose Girl by Shannon Hale. I didn't really know what to expect going into this book. It was actually gifted to me by a friend. She gave it to me like last Christmas, and it's taken me so long to read it, so I'm happy that I actually sat down and read the book because I know that it's one of her favorites. Goose Girl is about this girl named Annie who has always been destined to be queen in her own kingdom, and then her mother breaks the news that she's actually arranged to be married to this guy in the kingdom next door. The rest of the story is basically her navigating this transition into her new life where she is expected to fulfill her royal duties while also wanting to live her own life and work on this magic ability that she has where she's able to talk to animals. This book was written in 2005, and I think that it really predates everything that the YA genre has become, and for that reason I think that it's not really what I personally enjoy. I thought overall the story arc was very cute, and I really enjoyed a lot of the characters, and I would definitely be interested to continue reading the series to see what happens to the other main characters and what they're doing. But overall, the book was so slow at the beginning. I considered stopping it. It took a very, very long time for things to actually happen. I also didn't find the main character to be that gripping or entertaining, and overall I just thought the plot was very subdued compared to a lot of current young adult novels. However, I also acknowledge that this book was written a while ago, and it wasn't a normal thing to take risks in young adult novels that girls were expected to read. So I completely understand how this book was written, and I definitely think that if it was re-released or written in today's time, that it would be a very different story. I do think that people that like fantasy novels that don't focus heavily on romance will actually really enjoy this because the romance was kind of on the sidelines, which was nice. Overall, I think that the story wasn't something that I found absolutely amazing, and maybe if I read it when I was younger I would have liked it a lot more, but for me overall it was about a 3.5 stars, so nothing special. And the last book that I read in the month of February was Wayward Son by Rainbow Rowell. I have been wanting to read this book for so long. I remember it came out and I have literally had the audiobook out from my library for 3 to 4 months because every time I just keep hitting renew. And eventually I finally decided, you know what, it's really not that long of a book, let's just get it over with. And the reason I was so hesitant to start the book and I kept putting it off is because it was receiving really mixed reviews, and I didn't want Wayward Son to affect my enjoyment of Carry On just because I enjoyed that book a lot. If you don't know, Carry On is kind of Rainbow Rowell's take on Harry Potter. I know some people don't like when people say that because I understand it is a bit of a different story and the magic system's a little bit different. Overall, the story was originally created in Rainbow Rowell's book called Fangirl, where this girl writes fan fiction about a Harry Potter-like world, which ended up becoming the story of Carry On. So it is very similar to Harry Potter. Overall, I ended up giving Wayward Son a 4 stars. Honestly, until the end of the novel, it was going to be a 5-star read for me. I listened to the audiobook and I thought the narrator was doing a great job. I thought the book was really enjoyable, it was funny, it was cute, and then all of a sudden it just flopped for me. I didn't like the ending. I think that everything felt really unfinished. And while I know that there is a 3rd book coming out, I actually did not know that when I was listening to the book. And so it finished and I was just so mad because I didn't like the ending. So I can completely understand why so many people are very disappointed by this book. I personally am a little bit too, to be honest. I was just expecting a lot of like cutesy romance, a really fun road trip traveling novel, and it just wasn't that. And it was so upsetting that there was just so many conflicts between the characters the entire time, when really I just wanted like a fun cutesy story because I thought that's what it was going to be. Even though I did give it 4 out of 5 stars, it was a bit of a letdown, and I'm really hoping that the 3rd book redeems itself. That took a lot longer than I thought it would, but here we are. So that is all the books that I managed to read in the month of February. I hope you guys enjoyed hearing my thoughts. Let me know what books you guys read in the month of February down in the comments below, or what your thoughts were on any of the books that I managed to read in the month of February. I'd love to have a discussion in the comments. Make sure to follow me on my Twitter and my Instagram. I'll put both of them down below, and hit subscribe if you want to see new videos. Thanks so much for watching, and keep on reading, guys. Bye! All right, that was like half an hour. Oh my god.